I don't look it, but I'm kind of pissed off. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what's pissing me off. There's a group here that all along they've been doing everything that they can to try to destroy or mess up the Trump presidency. I don't know exactly who they are, but I know that they were hiring people and busloads of people to go and picket with signs to push the signs up and down saying "Not my president, not my president." They hired people to do that. They paid people to do that. They've not only paid people, they paid people to do all kinds of different things to try to mess up this presidency. And they've been at it. They've been at it from the very start. And I just see this right here, this article, as an extension of this. And I've never seen anything like this before in any other president. A faction that is actually trying to undermine the presidency of the United States. I've never seen anything like it before. What are they trying to do? Start a civil war? What's their goal? I mean, what is ultimately their goal? You know? And so I read here. It says the U.S. has many options for investigating Russian ties. Russian ties to what? What is all this about? Russian ties. Russian ties to what? Is it the fact that Donald Trump doesn't want to make war on Russia? Is that what they're upset about? I mean, let's get real here. So maybe he wants to make trade deals with Russia or something. So who cares? I mean, they make trade deals between countries all the time. I just don't get what all this is about. What are they trying to do? What is their actual goals here? It says, when it comes to investigating Trump administration ties to Russia. Ties to Russia, what do they think? Do they think he's some sort of spy or something? What are they getting at? Why don't they just be out in the open with it all? If they've got qualms and whatever, and instead of shuffling behind the bush and speaking, why don't they just come right out and lay everything out in the open? You know? The FBI is investigating Russian interference in the presidential election. That's balderdash. That's baloney. Russian interference in the presidential election. What could they do? Could the Russians didn't have control over the ballot boxes, and they proved that. And this is part of going back. I remember that they did this roll recount thing, and they spent millions of dollars. This is the same bunch that's doing this now. The bunch that paid for the recount. This is the same bunch that built these statues that they put in the cities of Trump naked. They hired a model, some sort of a model. He was a big fat guy. And they took pictures of him, and they had artists make these statues out of, I think they made them out of foam. I don't know if you remember this. And they hired an artist, and they had to make the statues out of foam. And it couldn't have been cheap. It must have been expensive. But this consortium that's been trying to undermine Trump the whole way along, I think they're the ones that are paying the picketers and everything. They hired these statues, and they put them in the different cities. And what they did is their whole thing was to humiliate the man. Totally humiliate the man. They hired some big fat guy. He was about 300-pound guy to model for these statues. And he had a great big belly on him. And then when they got the artist to make the thing, they made it about this big. You know? And I said to myself at the time when they were doing this, I said, how would Hillary like it if Trump were to go out and hire some artist to do her and put her in some of these cities and stuff and have her and naked statues of her? How would she feel? He took it really good, Trump did. He didn't have any, he let them do all that stuff, that crazy stuff. And I think it's the same bunch all along that's been doing it all along. See? This is my theory on it. My theory on it's the same bunch. It's a group, some sort of a group or something. I don't know exactly who they are. I don't care. But I just know that they're probably out there and they're causing all this trouble. And what ultimately is their goal? I mean, what do they want to accomplish? Do they want some sort of a civil war or something? Is this what they want? Okay, so let's read on about it a little bit here. The FBI is investigating Russian interference in the presidential election through hacking of Democratic emails and is looking into the possible contacts between Russian officials and the Trump associates. The FBI has interviewed Flynn regarding his phone contacts with Russian ambassador. I think all of this, the Russians, if they had any influence at all over the election results, it would have been minuscule. Because what they do is, it's in the election, don't they take and they put slips in a ballot box or something? And they've been claiming this all along about the election, whatever, the Russians. But they did a recount. And what did they find in the recount? They found that Trump was actually ahead more than they thought in the recount. And that recount was done very carefully. They had people standing back there watching them as they recounted the ballot boxes so that they couldn't cheat. And they found that Trump even had more than they thought. So that's all. Everything's fair and square. They're just constantly squealing, oh, it ain't fair, it ain't fair. We got to do a recount. We got to do a recount. A bunch of big babies. You see the same babies when they were there at their Democratic convention and they were looking up the big podium up there. Everything was prepared for Hillary to win, right? And all the balloons up there ready to fall on Hillary as she was going to give her speech and everything else. And as they could see the night progressing and as they could see that they were losing, Hillary lost. Oh, I seen one guy on there, honest to Pete. Now this is sad though. Sad though. I think I seen it on YouTube or whatever. He actually covered himself in gasoline. Can you imagine? Because Hillary lost. This is all just craziness. So, standing committee investigations, it says, the House and Senate Intelligence Committees are ready to examine Russian interference in the election. Well, how much taxpaying money is this going to cost? That's what I want to know. Is it going to cost a lot? Because you taxpayers are going to have to pay for this. You're going to have to pay for this. You know that you're going to have to pay for this. When the bill comes, you're going to have to pay for this. Right? Examining Russian interference in the election. Like I said before, if there's any real interference, it would be minuscule because they carefully scuttle the ballot boxes off and they hand count them and everything. How can the Russians interfere? What are they going to do? They're sitting over there in Moscow. The ballot boxes are over here, whatever state they're taking the ballots in, Virginia or whatever, and they're counting them over here, and the Russians are over there in Moscow. What are they going to do? They're going to do, woo, psychic interference, woo, I'm going to change the ballot psychically, woo, Boulder Dash. They can't do nothing. It's a bunch, and they're going to waste money investigating this. A select committee investigate. Oh, it's going to cost more. A select committee to investigate. So they're going to group a committee together. So all those people on the committee are going to get paid. Taxpayers' money? Is that who's going to pay them? Taxpayers' money? A select committee? You're going to be paid with taxpayers' money? A select committee. What's that going to cost? Says standing committees have constraints on their time and resources. Congressional leaders could also assemble a high-profile bipartisan. They always use those terms, bipartisan. Oh, it makes it sound all good and official, doesn't it? Bipartisan. That just means that they're going to use both Republicans and Democrats. Bipartisan. High-profile bipartisan panel of lawmakers. See, this is one of the things that's really making me sick is these lawmakers. And this is one of the things Trump's doing is for every two laws that they put, for every law they put on the books now, these lawmakers, And they've been just keep making laws and making laws. They just say to themselves, we'll just make a new law. The people have to obey it. Right? And they just keep making new laws and new laws and new laws. If you let them keep going, in the end, they'll make a law that you have to have a license to breathe. And then when your breathing license expires, they'll have a face clamp that they put on your face, made out of steel with a padlock on it. You let them get away with it. Just let them keep going and see how far they'll go with all this stuff. You know, they don't know when to stop. They don't know when to stop. So the people have to tell them when to stop, when they've went too far. This is the thing, and this is what Trump says. He's going to drain the swamp. He's gonna get rid of all this stuff. So now they for every law that they put in, these lawmakers, Trump's going to make them pull 2 old laws off of the books. So that'll be easy at first because there's lots of these old laws. But after a while, they'll root through all the old laws, and then they won't be able to pull two laws off the books, and they'll be stuck, and they won't be able to make all these new laws that they've been using to restrain us with. That was a smart idea. So let's get back to this here. Since standing committees have constraints on their time and resources, congressional leaders also could assemble high-profile bipartisan panel of lawmakers from a variety of committees to examine Russian meddling. Select committees were formed to investigate such scandals in Watergate, the Iran-Contra arms deal, and more recently the Obama administration's handling of the deadly 2012 and Benghazi attacks. Well, am I remembering right the 2012 Benghazi attacks? Was that when they used in Syria, they used nerve gas or something? And it turns out that these guys, they're always into stuff. They got their finger in the pie and everything. Special prosecutor. Now, what's that going to cost? What's the special prosecutor going to cost? Special prosecutor. Attorney General Jeff Sessions is facing pressure to step aside and appoint a special prosecutor for an independent investigation. What's it going to cost? Okay, outside counsel has been appointed. So they're going to appoint counsel, too. Now, all this to investigate something that, in my opinion, is not even real. They're just wanting to stir up the hornet's nest. They're wanting to make trouble so that they can somehow, they're looking for some little loophole, some little way, some little wedge that they can get in there to try to disrupt and smash things apart. This is what they're looking for, and they've been looking for it all along. This is why I think it's the same group that's been doing everything all along. So they're going to also hire an independent commission. Is there no end to the amount of money that they're willing to spend on this stuff? Isn't the United States $20 trillion in debt? Isn't Trump got enough on his hands to try to get us $20 trillion out of debt? And now what are they going to spend? Another trillion on this stuff? This investigation of hard-earned tax money? For this, it doesn't amount to a hill of beans? Democrats have also pushed for an independent commission consulting the people of outside Congress, such as former judges, law enforcement, and military officers. Now, I'm going to tell you something else, too. There's certain people out there that's going to read this article, and they're just going to be cheering, spend that money, spend that money, spend that money. Because they want it all along. They were the same ones who were marching with those signs saying, not my president, not my president. And they were the same ones who were crying at the Hillary convention. Those ones are going to look at this and they're going to say, we don't care what it costs. We don't care. We don't care how much this costs. Prosecute, prosecute, prosecute. Okay, so this is about all I got to say on this. I mean, this is just, I think my personal opinion is this is a waste of money. A big waste of money and a big waste of time, just like the recount was a waste of money and a waste of time. Why don't they start getting real? Why don't they do something constructive? This is not constructive. Anyway, if you like my article on this, thumbs up and subscribe. And thank you for listening. And enjoy making these videos for you guys. Bye-bye for now.